Chapter 8, Undesirables. My last teacher before my husband had several of the qualities on my list. After a short amount of time, though, I was beginning to realize that some of the things he'd said about himself weren't actually true. I was still attracting teachers who weren't honest because I was still not being completely honest. That experience strengthened my deep desire to be vulnerable, to tell the truth. I wanted to be loved for exactly the person I was, yet I struggled to share exactly who that person truly was. I had to learn again that in order to be loved for exactly who you are, you have to be vulnerable and honest and show who you are. And we have to share all of the things about ourselves, even if they're not our favorite things, especially when they're not our favorite things. If a person is meant for you, they will do the same, and you'll love them even more for it. It really helped me along the way to identify the not so desirable characteristics of the teachers that I was attracting and find and identify those characteristics in myself. So if you're wondering why you attract people with certain qualities that you don't want, the answer is in the mirror. Sorry. But it's probably not deliberate. I wasn't deliberately trying to lie to people or trying to deceive anybody. I was lying to myself about what I really liked and didn't like, even things that may have seemed small. The bottom line, I was saying okay to things that were really not okay with me, and I wasn't sharing all of my thoughts and didn't have the conversations that were really important I should have had. Now I realize it's just fear. I didn't have the courage because I didn't want to be rejected. But when you accept something you don't want, that is lying. You're not being honest with yourself. So one night, last teacher went out dancing with his work buddies because he was moving to another office. They wanted to send him off with a bang, which is fine. He was out all night, never called me or texted me when he got home. And I saw in the morning, when I woke up, there was nothing from him. He had never done that before. So I carried that gut feeling that made me nauseous all morning. You know the one. And now we know that he didn't care enough about me to send a text like he had every other night before that one. I did nothing at first. When he did call, I didn't say anything. I ignored what I knew to be true. He was lying to me. He didn't actually care that much, even though he said he did. And I was lying to myself about what I really wanted and what I really deserved. After I fired him, I realized that I attracted this. This is the result of me not saying the words that were in my heart, especially when it's difficult. You have to open up and have those uncomfortable conversations in order to have the relationship you desire. Even today, after 9 years together, it's still uncomfortable to discuss sensitive things, but nobody dies. It's not our favorite, most fun activity when John and I have difficult conversation about sensitive subjects, but it's always worth it. We both feel seen and heard, and we feel more bonded. Opening up and sharing what's on your heart is integrity. And my integrity and my own needs had to be more important than my desire to be loved, in quotes, or accepted or not rejected. I put loved in quotes because if you're not being honest, it's not real love anyway. Greg Bear calls it imitation love. You pretend to like eggs, cooked a certain way because that's how he likes them, then what else are you pretending? You pretend to like camping when you really prefer to sleep indoors in a bed, then he'll think you love to camp. With whom is he falling in love? When I was in my 20s, I had no idea I had a pattern of doing this until I saw the movie Runaway Bride. And I watched that and went, oh shit, that's what I do. And I was thinking, how do I like my eggs anyway? It never dawned on me to figure out who I am and what I really care about. And this is why it's so important. Because if you don't, you'll just keep attracting the person who loves who you are pretending to be. In order to attract the real deal, you got to be 100% real and 100% honest, which is hard, I know. In order to be 100% honest, you have to know yourself, be honest with yourself, and get clear about what you really want, which, of course, is always an evolutionary process. We're always evolving and changing and transforming and growing. It's a lifelong journey. But I had attracted yet another liar because I was a big fat liar. So I found examples in my own behavior where I had said one thing but meant another. My integrity wasn't intact, and integrity is saying what you mean. I always admired those people who could easily speak their minds, even when they knew the other person wasn't going to like it. And I wanted that. I wanted someone who had integrity and was true to his word. And the only way to attract someone with integrity is to have integrity. You've got to tell the truth all the time, especially when it's difficult. And the beautiful thing about articulating characteristics that we have that we don't like is that we can transform them. It's not about blame or shame. It's just about taking back your power, about learning, about growing, transforming. If we want to attract integrity and live with integrity, then boy, we shall. We'll get all kinds of opportunities to test it out. But it's all up to us. I found that if I focused on being true and honest and just did one thing a day to keep myself honest, it got easier. I still failed, from time to time. Just got up and tried again the next day. Sure, we make, quote, mistakes, but what if those mistakes are just really lessons in disguise? I was so adamant about not attracting another liar that as soon as we sat down at the table on my first date with John, I just blurted it all out. I threw up all over him, not literally. I just told him everything I was ashamed about. I just came out, let's just put it all out on the table. I said I was molested when I was a kid, and he told me he was too. And I was like, what? In 2008, 2009, I went through bankruptcy. The bank took my house. My car got repossessed. I didn't have enough money to buy my own laptop, and I still have debt. I owe the IRS 30 grand or whatever the balance was at the time. Oh, and I still have college loans. And yes, I know it was from 20 years ago. And yes, I'm almost 40. I forgot about that one until I read this chapter to John. He said, and you still had your school loans. Oh, yeah. Dang it. I'm even a bigger loser than I remembered. See, you could be a big loser with a 20-year-old school loan and still attract an amazing husband. I'm kidding. Don't call yourself a loser. Your words are very, very powerful. It doesn't matter what's going on with you. It doesn't matter what your current circumstances are. As long as you're honest about them, that's the only way you're going to attract someone with integrity. And your mistakes, anything you're not proud of from the past, they're irrelevant. Growing and expanding toward your true potential, growth, trying again, it's the only thing that matters. And all the other stuff I've written, of course. Okay, your review. Your job is to just write down a few of the characteristics that you don't care for, that aren't on your list, and write down the name of the teacher that you dated, list the characteristics, and then look at your own life. Let's look and write down any instance that may have shown up. Maybe you have done something, if it's integrity wise, like my example. And then a couple ways that you can demonstrate the opposite. While you're transforming, I'm going to do something different. What are you going to do differently? What could you do differently? What different action could you take? And then you'll be really surprised at doing this exercise, and it's really enlightening. I'll see you at the next chapter.